Welcome. My name is Ivan Elias. I am a master's student and international student at Boise State University, and this is my podcast, Venturing Voices. Here, we will talk about and advocate for the challenges faced by international students and how these challenges impact their lives, engagement in class, inclusion in the community, and relations with peers and professors. By hosting international students in this podcast series and hearing their authentic stories, I am aiming to promote cultural competency in our Boise State community. Without further ado, let's introduce our first international student guest, Karuna, from Nepal. Karuna, you're pursuing a master's degree in business administration. Could you tell us a bit about you? Could you tell us a bit about the culture in which you grew up in Nepal, and why did you choose Boise State?
Hi, I'm Karuna. I'm from Nepal. I'm doing career track MBA in Boise State University. And to tell about myself, I love going to cycling in the Greenbelt area with my husband in the leisure time. And the reason I choose Boise State, the first reason I came here in Idaho because of my husband, because he came here after we got married. And yeah, I choose MBA because it offers students it offers students to study business who don't have business background.
That's awesome. Thank you, Karuna. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Our second international student guest today is from Afghanistan. He is pursuing a bachelor degree in global studies with an emphasis on global environment. Let's welcome Sayed. Sayed, could you tell us a bit about you? You have a bit of a different stories. What circumstances made you come to Boise?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, event. My name is Sayed. I'm 21 years old from Afghanistan. As you know, I'm from Afghanistan, from the capital, Kabul. I was born in Kabul, and I grew up there, and I lived there for 18 years. I would say about a little bit about my country. It's a mountainous country. It has 4 seasons, 34 provinces. The people are really kind and hospitable and really friendly, and each area the people know each other. And I was in my senior year back in Afghanistan, and as the situation changed and the Taliban occupied Afghanistan for the second time, we had no choice just to leave, because my brother and my dad were working with the American government, and my mom was a teacher for over 20 years, and the Taliban were looking for those people to arrest them. So we had no idea what to do. We didn't know how our future is gonna be. It was like a dark place, and we had no choice just to move to United States. And about myself, I say I'm a storyteller. I really like to talk with people who has a different background and come with a different culture from a different country. I really like to learn about new languages that I don't know, and really interested to know about different cultures and languages, and really like to be in the community and talk with the people.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad to have you as well. And finally, from Cameroon, welcome Tina. Tina, you're pursuing a bachelor in integrated media and strategic communication. Could you tell us a bit about the culture back in Cameroon, and why did you choose Boise State?
Thank you so much. So my name is Tinange, and I'm from Cameroon, precisely the southwest region. That's where I was born, but originally my parents are from the northwest region, and they had to migrate to the southwest region, before I was born. So a little bit about Cameroon. I would say Cameroon is home. I love Cameroon so much, despite the fact that to some people, I am in the land of milk and honey, which is not necessarily a lie. It's true, milk and honey, but I love Cameroon. Fun fact about Cameroon is Africa in miniature, and with that I mean that anything that you can find anywhere else in Africa, you can find it in Cameroon. And in Cameroon, we have about 250 ethnic groups, and they differ in traditional dishes, traditional language, like the dialect, and the way they're dressed. And I'm precisely from the Wimbom culture. We call ourselves the Wimbom people, and we speak the Limbom dialect. And to say good morning in my dialect, you say, Ira. Yeah, I
Nice.
love my culture so much. So, a background story of how I found myself in America today started in 2016 when I was in high school and I was preparing that time to write my ordinary level, the GCE. So, I got this awesome opportunity from the United Department U.S. Department of States, and it's a program called the YES program. That is the Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and Study Program, and it basically just brings high school students to America to just come for 1 year and do an exchange of culture. You learn American culture, you teach Americans your culture. So 2016, I got that opportunity, and I was placed in a placement organization called AUSA. And I was placed in a small town, which is 45 minutes away from Boise, called Middleton. That's my second home. So I was placed with this awesome, amazing host family called The Woods, and I lived with them for 10 months. And I must say that those 10 months are part of my life. They're like my story, and I loved it there. And then after my exchange year, I had to go back to Cameroon because it's an exchange program. So I had to go back and teach everybody what I learned in America. And so I went back to Cameroon and, continued being the last child that I was, and continued living my life as a Cameroonian. And then before I had left to go to America for my exchange year, there was a civil war that just started in Cameroon. At that time, I really would not call it a war. It was just a, protest. And it was just peaceful walks and all of that. But when I went back home, everything had escalated and it was crazy. People were dying and, constant destruction and all of that. And I figured I couldn't study in that scenario. So I was like, okay, why not just go back to your second home? And boom, I started applying. It was hard from the beginning, getting all the stuff down in the midst of a civil war, writing all the exams, English proficiency, gathering your documents and all of that. And then finally, after 2 years of struggling, hardcore struggling, I finally did it. I applied. And then 2 weeks after, they were like, yay, Tina, we want you to come to Boise. And I'm like, okay, pack my stuff. Boom, I came here. And one fun fact is the same day I traveled was my birthday. So at home, I was doing a double celebration, birthday and send-off.
Happy birthday. You're going to Boise.
I know,
That's
right?
awesome. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about cultural and language barriers, imposter syndrome, mental health, and homesickness. I'm looking forward to hearing your experiences today, and I think it is so important to share your truth as international students because there's so little awareness about what we experience and also a few misconceptions. So, Karuna, you're from Nepal, you're a master's student. What challenges have you encountered due to cultural differences between your home country and Boise?
Yeah, the first cultural difference I have faced is people here communicate very directly. They greet the stranger, they look at each other and smiles. It was first cultural shock when I came here. Why? I had no idea how to reply when people ask me, hi, how are you? Kind of.
Right. People, you walk in the street and people are just like, hey, how are you? I'm like, I've never seen you in my life, but I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, should I ask that or
Yeah.
not? Yeah. And in the classroom setting, it focused on speaking up, sharing thoughts with your classmates and professor. That is not usual in my country, especially talking with professor. In the first days of my class here, I felt disrespectful to talk with professor calling their name. I couldn't do that in my initial time. Yeah, that was the cultural difference, and yeah, I'm figuring out, and it's good.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else wants to add to that?
I'll add a little. So, coming back in America, I wouldn't say it was really a culture shock to me because, I had lived here. But the very first time that I came was in high school. I was starstruck. First, in Cameroon, teachers used to rotate in high school. Teachers would leave from one class to another. The students would just stay there. I liked that princess treatment, but here in America, I have to move. I have to leave from this class to this class. And I remember always being tardy or late because, you know, I'm just comfortable that, okay, when I come in, this is where I sit until when it's 3 o'clock and I go home. But it's the other way around. And then, like, lunch break, I have to go out and eat lunch and then look for my next class and stuff like that. So that was a little bit different from when I first came. But when I came to college, it was, I just felt like, okay, I had been here before. So it was a process of readapting to me. And one of the things with college is, you know, in high school in America is a little different from college. Like she said, in Cameroon, that openness to like talk too much to a teacher, it's not there. Like once you start having that relationship of talking too much to a teacher constantly in Cameroon, especially if you're a girl and you're talking to a female teacher and you have their number and you have their email and you're always, you know, people sometimes will start thinking that you're having an affair with that teacher because it's not something that is like, oh, my teacher texts me every day and asks me how I'm doing. It's not very common. But here in America, you can find some teachers even telling you, if you email me, I'm not going to reply. Make sure you text me. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that's new. And then another thing is like she said, calling people by their first name. Don't even do that in Cameroon. You call your teacher, you say, hey, Jay. No,
yeah, that's big
disrespect. Disrespect of the highest order. So it's you have to attach like professor or mister, or even like me, I can't, if we were in Cameroon right now, if somebody is like 5, 6, 10 years older than I am, it's very disrespectful to call them by their first name. You have to attach like a little sister or brother or auntie or uncle around it. But in America, if you call somebody auntie, they'll be like, are you calling me old? So it's like, I had to also readjust to that.
I think what you're talking about, it's a bit of a language barrier too. And
kind of, yeah.
That's what we're gonna touch on
okay.
a bit later on. But that's so interesting to hear such differences, you know, and because it impacts a bit of who you are and how you act in your everyday life.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have anything to add to this?
Sure. First, I would say I also have the similar experience to what Karuna and Tina said. The only thing I want to add is about the number of subjects you have to take for each academic year. So back in Afghanistan, there is required a number of subjects that you have to repeat every year. Like from first grade to third grade, you have to repeat. You have to do 7 to 8 subjects, and from fourth grade to sixth grade, you have to do about 12 subjects, and then from 7th grade to 12th grade, you have to do 17 to 18 subjects every year, and they are all repeating to you every year. Like you have to repeat physics class from 7th grade to 12th grade, all science classes, language classes, some other social classes, and if you fail one of them by the end of the year, then you have to repeat the whole year, not just the class that you failed.
Nice. Thank you for explaining that. Let's go back to like language barrier a little bit. Have language barriers affected your academic performances or social interactions? If you have an example, please go ahead. It's open. That question is open to the whole group. So whoever has like a first idea, go ahead.
Yeah, so the language barrier has impacted my social interactions and academic performances. So for the first time, I was not very familiar with the fast-paced talking. Yeah, it affected my not grading but understanding in class clearly, and it I'm not getting that word. This is also an example of language barrier. So I find it hard to participate in discussions, yeah, and unfamiliar with the academic terms. And whenever I don't get whatever the teacher is saying, I hesitate to ask them. Yeah, those are the things with me.
Yeah, you hesitate to ask them because you're like, if I ask for help, are they gonna understand me?
Yeah.
Are they gonna take the time, or are they gonna have the patience to try and understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also when you have something inside you but not coming outside the word, just that one word, and you stuck and you feel embarrassed in whole class. Yeah, that happened.
Yes, and you're like, I'm doing a master's, and I have, you have like the knowledge,
Yeah.
but it's also when the words are not coming out like you want them to, you're like, oh, that person is gonna think that I don't belong here because, it's, and we're gonna touch on that later. It's like the imposter syndrome kind of thing, but that language barrier is such a huge thing.
Yeah, it affects your self-esteem, your motivation in stay in class.
Yeah, your motivation too. That's right. I remember back in, I think it was my sophomore year, where I had a really hard teacher, and I feel like he wasn't wanting to take a step forward to kind of like facilitate my learning in class. And because of the language and cultural barrier, I didn't feel comfortable going up to him. And then, throughout the semester, I just like lost motivation, and I was just like less engaged in class, less wanting to learn that topic, and it just made things a bit harder.
Yeah, and I also want to add another thing. So it comes with language barrier and cultural difference. So I found that most of the American use idioms and also use cultural reference while discussing, and we have no idea what are they talking about.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the time so when everyone in the class were laughing, and I had no idea why they are laughing. And I felt myself dumb.
Right,
That's
because
the same
it
thing with
creates like a
me.
huge wall, because there are things they experienced growing up and you weren't there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly. With the idioms thing, like I still don't get it. With me, language hasn't really been a big barrier as to understanding, but to me, it has been vocabulary instead of language. Like, how they use the high, big words, and sometimes they'll use it, and I'll be like, the first time when I came here, I'll be like, I'm just in high school. How do I know the meaning of that word?
Yeah.
So, first time, I used to use the dictionary a lot to like break down some of the words that I didn't know. And then another thing is like, how we have British English in Cameroon,
Yeah.
and then there's like a whole. Somebody once told me one time like, you're sassy, and I thought I felt like it was like an insult, and I was just like, I was raging so bad. I'm like, how can you just wake up in the morning and insult me and call me sassy? And then I went home and I told my host mom, I'm like, Mom, she just called me sassy. Shouldn't I be mad? And my mom's like, sassy is not necessarily a bad thing. And I'm like, okay. So, those kind of things. But like in the academic space, it's more of like the big words. But like the way I got my way around it is just using my Google and just, what's the synonym for this, or what does this mean, and stuff like that. And I get it, like not all the time that you'll be able to like pull out your phone. And I don't want to be that one student that the teacher is like, this student is always on the phone, and I'm like, I'm not doing something bad. I'm just trying to know what you're saying. So that's the kind of a barrier that I had, still have, but like now it's a little bit better because I've been here for almost 2 years. So it's just the vocabulary sometimes is really huge. Yeah. So sometimes they'll say it and I'll be like, is that a scientific name or is it just the word? Like, yeah.
So for me, I would say when I got to US and I started school here as a junior, but I was a little bit older than comparing to other students. I started when I was 18 and the other students were maybe 16, 17. And I had the ability and the skills of how to advocate for myself and how to talk really comfortable with my teachers. But the only struggles that I have was English, because back in Afghanistan I really didn't want to practice English. I was involved to study science subjects and maths, but then I got here, I had that struggles at the very first day. I had no choice just to communicate with my teacher by using Google Translate. I was typing what I'm trying to say to him, and then he was responding back by writing in English, and then I was checking what he said. So that was one thing, and
that's a whole process.
yeah. And a lot of time it happens to me in class that I knew the lecture, the topic that the teacher is talking about, but because of English, it made that topic nonsense and difficult for me to understand. But later, when I got comfortable with English and then I saw what the teacher lecture is, I said, wow, I knew this. If the teacher is not here and I'm good in English, I can do a lecture for my classmates. It's not a big deal for me. But English language skills made it difficult for me to be more successful than how I was in school.
Yeah.
And it happened to me a lot of time. I took some tests for my language or for a class. I knew the right answer, but because of the vocabs that I wasn't familiar with, I picked the wrong answer and my grade got down.
Right. Multi-choices tests are like the hardest for like international students, I feel like, because like it's tricky and
Yeah.
they're trying to trick you,
Mm-hmm.
and because of your lack of vocabulary or like lack of understanding and nuance of like sentences,
Yeah.
it tricks you even more. And then you overthink it, and then it's just a whole spiral.
Yeah, I agree with Shahid in this case. So you feel like you are a whole new person in this place because of the language, because you felt more comfortable when you are in your country, and after you come here, just because of the language, the way people talk, you feel like you are not fit here anymore, kind of thing. The thing. So I used to think that communication is my strength, but here I don't feel like that.
Yeah, I feel like you don't belong. Like, oh, especially when they be using this, all
Whole
this
new
like
thing, yeah.
words that somebody was like absolutely delulu, and I'm like, okay, is that are we adding it to the vocabulary and stuff like that? Like when they're using this coded language and all of that, and you're just that one person, you're just trying to make friends, but like you don't get it. You just feel like, okay, I don't belong. Maybe I should just go back home and climb on my bed and eat my popcorn and watch my movies. So
Right, and that's actually the imposter syndrome that we're gonna talk about now. So imposter syndrome, the definition is, it's the belief that one is undeserving of their achievements. They feel that they aren't as competent or intelligent. And when we have difficulties communicating in English, because I don't have difficulties communicating in French, but when it comes to English, it's a bit harder because the vocabulary, because of the accent, because of, everything. And so I don't, like Tina was saying, that sense of belonging, that sense of, oh, I deserve to be here or I should be here, kind of like decreases. It's like, oh, do I really belong here? Do I really have the skills? Like,
Yeah.
doubting yourself.
Yeah, doubting in yourself, it affects your, so it has encouraged your self-doubt, like, do I really deserve to be here, or am I really supposed to be here, kind of thing.
Right. So how would you define your imposter syndrome definition?
So for me, imposter syndrome is, so rather than thinking, do I believe here, I feel like imposter syndrome is like a psychological pattern where you start doubting yourself if I am going in the right track or not, because I don't feel like I should be here. I could be more better in other place or the situation or the career. Yeah, I feel like that.
Okay.
I have said that to myself more than a million times. Like, I will always be like, if I was in Cameroon, I wouldn't be the one chasing friends. Friends would chase me. Like, people would want to be friends with me because I'm fun, but I can't be funny. Like, growing up, I have never, ever in my life down-looked myself or, like, doubted myself or, like, I'm a very bubbly person. I'm out there. Like, I'm outgoing. But when I came to America, I got humbled. I got humbled in the sense that I'm like, okay, Tina, you're not so smart as you thought you were. Because, like, they be saying some things and I don't know what they be saying. And I'm like, okay, what do they mean? Like, so that moment, I think imposter syndrome has hit me so hard so many times in America. Sometimes I'll even know what to say. Like, I'll have an idea of what they're talking about, especially in class. I'll know what they're saying, what you're talking about. But just to raise my hand up and say it in my own way, and everybody in class, I used to think I'm like majority is this way, and I'm like the only person that knows this way, and I'm like, if I say it, they're gonna look at me like weird. And then there's this one little girl in our class, like she has weird. I don't even want that ever. I don't want that attached to me. So I always just stay quiet. And I'm like, okay, Tina, this is not your place. When you go back to Cameroon, you can do that.
You can be
say whatever. Yeah, like that. So I always just feel like, okay, I used to think I'm smart, but I got humbled, for real.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
I would say for me, I didn't had much experience of imposter syndrome because as I got to school, I was a little bit older than some other student, and for example, in class activities or with the club that I was involved with, when there was like I wanted to share an idea, I didn't have the fear to share it. I was just raising my hand or just yelling, I have an idea, I want to talk about this, because I was thinking, you are older than them, you have more experience than them, you have to act like a leader in front of these students, because they are younger, they do not have that experience of life as what you have. They are able just to speak English, but you are able to speak in multiple languages other than English. And with all the support that I've got from school, from my teachers and friends, I've never had the fear to stay quiet.
That's good for you, bro. Really good.
And also remember, Sayed, in previous conversation, when you got to college, you advocated for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a bit further?
So for advocating for myself, I advocate a lot while I was in high school, because I was learning English at the same time as an EL student and moving forward to learn other subjects at the school. So the first couple weeks or first month was really hard for me. I didn't have an idea. I was just working on English language. My academic teacher, academic support teacher gave me a link aside that helped me a lot to learn English. So I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I was just working hard on my English, but it was still hard for me to understand all the lectures in each my class. The first time I advocate for myself was I reached out to my EL teacher and then to all my other teachers and told them the way that you lecture to the students is not gonna work for me to help me understand the topic that you are talking about every day. I have some new methods that is gonna help you teach me, and it's gonna help me to understand it well. That was the first time I advocate for myself, and it made my teachers really happy because they want me to be successful in their class.
That is awesome that you talked to your professor and you had that courage to go up to him and be like, hey, like, this is not working out for me. I'm looking for a solution to succeed.
Yeah.
And there is that department that I know, Gail, that you mentioned. Shout out to Gail. We love Gail and Nicole. That can help me.
Yeah.
And I think there is so much power in that. So props to you for doing that. And it's not every international student. So I hope that the international students that are listening to this right now can find that courage to like go advocate for themselves and ask for help.
Yeah. The program is ELSP, I think. English
ELSP.
Language Support Program. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I like about Boise. There's always support.
Yeah,
for
there's always support.
international students. Like, no matter how hard it is, there is always support.
For everything.
Yeah, for everything.
And it's kind of how keep your motivation up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you encounter language barrier, when you encounter all those like difficult
Mental issues.
you
You can go to
know?
counseling.
Exactly. There's all these resources, and I feel the more accessible they are and the more we talk about how accessible they are and that encourages people
Yeah.
to move forward and be like, there are people that are here for me. I don't need to be alone
Yeah.
or to go through this by myself.
Yeah, and this is also the most cultural shock for me, because I felt like the whole university is there to help you, like we are here to support you. It was not like that in my country.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes too. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, there's so many people who
Everyone
wants to
suffer-
help me.
Yeah.
What do I do? You know?
Everyone offering for the help.
Yeah.
Yeah, like who do I go to? Okay, which one's authentic? Which one's real? They're
Yeah.
all just here to help. And like you said, international students that are listening to this, don't ever feel that you're alone. Don't
Yeah.
ever. There's so many people.
There's so many events too, you know, that you can attend, that you can network, that you can meet new international student friends, or just American friends too, you know, trying to get that multicultural
Yeah.
group of friends that is so important, and it's so valuable for you too, you
Yeah.
know. Since we were talking about mental health and that came up, I'm going to ask if any of you found support from like fellow international students or cultural groups on campus, and how that impacted your experience.
I've dealt with mental health, I can say, 3 months after I entered back into America. And one of the reasons is because when I came back, I'm like, okay, you don't have, like, my host family from my exchange here, they still support me. They're always there for me. But, like, now I feel kind of like, okay, you're a teenager. No, not teenager, you're an adult. When you were with them, you were only 16, 15. So now you're an adult. You're almost 20 years old. You should be figuring out your own stuff. It's American thing. 20-year-old American will not go back all the time to the house, you know. So that kind of hit me, and I started feeling anxious, and anxiety kicked in, and it was graduating to reaching depression and all of that. And I started going for counseling and therapy and all of that. And guess what? I couldn't tell my parents back home because it's not a thing in Cameroon. If I walk up to my mom and be like, I'm depressed, I'm angry, she'll be like, no, you're hungry, just eat. That's it. Yeah, my mom would definitely say that. Like, not because she doesn't, it's just because it's not a big thing. Like, a lot of people, especially in Cameroon, they downgrade mental health, and they're just like, well, everybody has problems. I'm like, yeah, there are problems, and there is a mental problem. A mental problem is not just something you can just snap out of. No. I have had to deal with mental problems 3 months after I re-entered America. That was 2022 till now. I woke up this morning with a little bit of anxiousness and anxiety, and I was just like, okay, Tina, you can't let this ruin your big day, like, you know, all of that. And one way that I have seen that I kind of deal with it is I have friends, international student friends. Shout out to Shaq, Bless, David, Mohammed. They're always there. Like, when I have my episodes, I don't know, it just happens that when I have like big episodes of anxiety, they're just there. Sometimes I would just feel like, okay, I need to destroy something to feel okay. But if you say this back home, they're going to be like, are you crazy? Like, you know, I have sometimes like put my anger on my phone, just shoot my phone on the ground just to like feel okay. And Boise State has great resources. You know, the Center for Global Engagement, the people I work with, they're always there. My boss, Tim, he's always there. Like, Tina, take it one step at a time. Calm down. Shout out to Tim. Take it one step at a time. Ruth, Brian, you know, everybody, and you too. Like, you guys always have my back. So that's really one support from the International Student Department, like Center for Global Engagement. And then there is like counseling that you can go to, and there's therapy, and there's all of that stuff. And guess what? They didn't charge me for it. For some reason, for counseling, they didn't charge me. So sometimes when I just feel overwhelmed, I just walk in there and I talk to them. And like, I also have my friends back home that kind of understand a little bit how mental illness or mental whatever can affect you. So some of my friends back home will always just like shoot me some texts. I have a boyfriend. He's amazing. He helps me a lot too. Sometimes he's just like, do you know you're not the only one going through this? So don't kill yourself. take a chill pill and just live your life. Don't live in the future, or live in the now, and all of that. So Boise State University, that's like one thing I always tell my friends. I'm like, no matter how different it is from back home, I would still be grateful to Boise State University, because if they didn't have the counseling and the therapy thing and the whole community to support me, I probably would be in a mental home right now, or maybe some rehab, because I was really going crazy. You need to see my old phone. My old phone, the screen is broken, everything. It was escalating. It got to depression. It got to the stage where, like, I don't want to leave my house. Also, I don't want to be in my house. So I was just confused most times. And like you said, having friends is also good. My host family is helpful. My sponsors are helpful. I have my one American friend, Aria Demik. She has been so helpful. Like, the mental health, for real. International students, if you're listening to this and you're going through this, please, you're not alone. Come out, speak to people that will help you. Like, I'm using myself as an example because I went through a lot. I went through hell and back. It was crazy, but the whole community, everybody was just there. You wouldn't even know that I'm going through mental stress, because when I wake up in the morning, I put a smile on my face, but when I go back home, it's a whole process, a whole thing, just so much pressure and all of that.
Like you mentioned before, not going back home to your family, or not like being able to call them at night because of the time differences. It just affects you a lot, and kind of like pushes you in a bit of that corner where you're like, okay, well, now it's myself. And also, I think international students during Thanksgiving, during winter break, when they don't get to go back to their country, during spring break where like everybody's away and you're like, maybe I don't have a car. Maybe I don't have enough money to travel, take the plane. Gosh. There's a lot of opportunities. I mean, these are not opportunities. A lot of situations where you find you're like it's just yourself, and you're like, what am I doing here? And then I think that affects a lot your mental health in general. Karuna, do you have any experience that you would like to share about this?
Yeah, the experience is kind of similar like Tina. So my course is like 7-week course. So in those 7 weeks, it really grinds you. And I had work and study at the same time. And usually I balance it in my when I'm in my country back then. But here I couldn't balance those things because both are very new for me. So I went to counseling, and I felt like the counseling, it was my first counseling in my whole life. And back in my country, it is like a taboo.
Yes, taboo. Yeah. It is in France as well.
Yeah, and I went there. It felt good. It was like self-reflection for me. Yeah, and I suggest everyone to, even if you are not comfortable sharing, don't share. Just go and relax.
Right. Yeah, I invite every international student that I feel like they need to speak to someone, or just like be in a safe place to experience what they're feeling, to like seek that counseling. Thank you.
My mental health experience the first year as I got to US was really bad, really worse, because I wasn't an international student here. I was a refugee who left their country because of the conflict, leaving all your houses, your room, your friends, all the memories you had from your home country and the place you grew up, and moving to a really new country and starting new life here was a really big thing, an experience for me. And with that, I was really worried about what's happening to my friends now. I had depression, I had anxiety, and a lot of mental health issues because of all the struggles that I'm faced here with the language and culture barriers, and being worried about your friends back in your country. And with that, I wasn't able to sleep during the night, and I was all awake. And when I was back to school in the morning, I was feeling so sleepy, and also with the lecture that I wasn't able to understand it, I feel more sleepy, and it was boring for me, and I was not interested to stay in class or stay awake. I wanted to sleep or leave the class. That was one thing. And as Karuna said, when you are in your country, as you're working and going to school, it's really simple and easy for you to balance your schedule between your work and your school. But in here, it's kind of hard, especially for the people who started a new life here as a refugee, as a new Americans. They have to make their life, they have to work, they have to make money to pay for rent, and pay for all their expense. They don't have any house here, they don't have a car here, they have to make money, they have to work hard to stay on top of their expense, and at the same time going to school with an EL background or not.
So EL is English language.
Yeah, ELL or English language learner student. It's really hard for them, and that was the mental health struggles that I had. But as I had a really good communication and self-advocacy and myself, I tried to reach out to my teachers at the school. I met multiple therapists until I found the right person, because that's okay. You might meet a therapist that to help you with your mental health problem, but it might not be useful as you think. But you should not give up and say, no, nobody's here to help me. You got to reach out to another person until you find the right person. And the good thing for me is, and I have this advice, with whatever, with who, like if you have a close friend, if you have a professor, you feel really close to them, they know about your story, they know about your life, and you feel comfortable sharing your story, you reach out to them. If they're not like a psychologist, if they're not a social worker, they know you, they have the ability to help you a little bit in case. And that's something I did. I made some therapists, some psychologists, it wasn't helpful. And as I met my teacher, who I was close with, who I was hang out with a lot of time, going to a restaurant sometimes, that helped me, and they supported me a lot with my mental health problem.
I'm very glad that you found that support. That's so important.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to like homesickness. So I want to ask like the kind of like fun question first. Are there any specific aspect of your home culture or environment that you miss the most?
I would say everything. Right now, I would say
the Queen of Cameroon here.
Yeah, Queen of Africa, correction.
Queen of Africa.
Okay. I'm not a real queen, but yeah, I like the title. I gave it to myself. I would say everything. I miss everything about home. Just like my friends, being with people, my culture, how crazy and loud it is back home. But in America, it's not like you choose to be by yourself, but just the work setting. Everybody works. There's nobody who is idle. In Africa, I didn't really have to work for it's not a thing for you to work to raise money for for paying for college. Your parents got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Parents usually, they got you. But in America, it's like, oh, I have to work. I need to figure this out. I'm an adult. I'm no more in my parents' house. Like he said, you only leave your parents' house in Cameroon when you're getting married. You know what I mean? As a girl, you stay there until you're getting married. My sisters stayed in my parents' house until somebody took them out. So that's how it is at home. And the only scenario that can make you leave is maybe you get a job that's far from home. They're okay, but to just wake up and be okay, I got money now, I'm gonna leave. It's it's not common. Yeah. So I miss that. I miss having to come back home and meet food on the table and eat. But now if I go back home, I have to be the one to cook. If I don't cook, I don't eat. I miss just being at home, watching TV with family, having crazy stuff. One crazy thing I also miss is sharing chores. For some reason, wake up in the morning, that, I have to do this and this and this, and this other sibling has this and this and this. And although I kind of started doing all by myself when I was, when I grew up, because I was the last baby and all my sisters were working, so I always follow my mom to the garden. But there's always somebody that you can share a chore with. And sometimes maybe your mom will be a little bit merciful and help you do the dishes. But in Africa, it's not like I still miss that. I miss that authority over me. Like, if you understand what I mean.
It's the comfort zone for you.
Yeah, I miss that authority. Like my dad getting to tell me, okay, it's time to do the dishes. I miss that. Like, it sounds crazy to some people. Some people want that laissez-faire life, that free life. Like, okay, you will faire ce que je veux. But I miss having...
Good French.
I know, right? I miss having somebody telling me, okay, it's time to do the dishes, turn off the TV. Or sometimes I miss somebody scolding me. Yeah.
That's funny. What about in Afghanistan?
So I would say, as she mentioned again, you live with your parents until you get married or find a job that's far away from your home. And otherwise, you don't have to work. Most of the time, your parent got you. They're going to support you mentally, physically, economically. You don't have to pay for college back in my country. The college is free. You don't have
That
to
is
pay.
awesome.
The only difference is if you want to go to a private college, then you have to pay for that.
Right.
And that's for the students who get like a really low grade and not able to get the passing grade to go to like other colleges beside private college, and that's something really good. And when you go outside, there is always people that you know, and you hang out with them most of the time, going picnic, talking with them. But here, as you go outside, first the weather sucks sometimes. It's really hot during the summer, and it's really icy and snowy during the winter. And it happens like more than half of the year the weather is crazy. It makes it hard for you to go and enjoy the environment. And when the environment and the weather is good, when you go outside, you cannot find anyone to hang out with, or even you know or you don't know. It's really hard to find people. All people are all busy with their jobs. They don't have time for you. Even your parents, your siblings.
And your parents are here with you in
Yeah.
Boise, right?
Yeah, my mom is here and my siblings, and it's really hard to find people walking on the street. They're always driving. They're busy with their jobs and their life. I say the economic system in U.S. is kind of way different. You have to work most of the time until you make money and you survive. If you don't work, then you're broke and then you're homeless. That's one thing. You go outside, you find your friends, you find someone to hang out with, have some fun. If you feel sad, if you feel like depressed, but in here you go outside, it's really hard to find people walking or running or having fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can relate with Tina and Shahid in this case. And homesickness hits when you are sick abroad. You just wish for that warm food, fresh food. Yeah, it happened with me when I was suffering from fever and I couldn't make my food. Yeah, and here, so the thing, mental health issue is not a big thing in those countries because they live with the family. They eat together, they eat together, get happy together, and also cry together. And sometimes their siblings, their parents are the counselor, so it's not like went up the mental condition.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I miss that, especially when you're saying you're sick. You just want a soup that your mom made, that you grew up with, something like, that brings that comfort in. And here it's like
all on your own.
Yeah.
You need to pay rent by yourself. You need to do everything by yourself, and that's hard.
Yeah, there's a lot. Americans seek for a lot of independence.
Yeah,
Individualism compared to other countries where there's much more of a family
Oh
support.
my gosh, the whole if in Cameroon, if you just wake up Sunday and you're like, I want to be left alone, there's no alone time.
That does not happen.
That means when you say that, you're indirectly telling them that, oh, I want company. Everybody's just gonna come. Like the whole, like you need to see when we celebrate something in Cameroon, just birthday, you're gonna think, is this a carnival? But no, it's just somebody's birthday. Like we party big. People will cook food from north, south, east, west, and bring it together. And there's just so much community, so much
That is awesome.
love, and all of that. But in America,
Let's all go to Cameroon.
Yeah, in America, even an open house is not an open
Wait a
house.
sec. So I was like, yeah, let's all go to Cameroon and go visit that and go to like a birthday. That sounds really fun. So I think that's where we're gonna stop today on this like beautiful note on Cameroon. Thank you so much for like sharing your culture. It was so nice to like learn a bit more about where you're from and what you've experienced at Boise so far. I just want to give you like a last little opportunity to say a special thank you to someone maybe that helped you throughout this journey studying abroad.
Yeah, I would like to thank my husband for being there every time I need, and my family and friends, my cohorts, and especially the Boise people who have always been friendly, and I felt they were always there if I seek for help. Yeah, I want to thank all them.
Awesome.
First, I have a message to all the international students. If anytime you have any struggles or any situation you need some help, don't hesitate to reach out to your professor or your friends. They are here to help you at work because you want to be successful. It's not going to hurt you if they say no, because they might have a problem or they might be busy, and it's okay. You can get it done by yourself, try your best, or reach out to another person. So don't have a fear to stay quiet, far away from everyone, and don't feel to reach out to any person if you need some help. And I want to say thank you to the English language department, Dr. Gilshock and Miss Nicole. They helped me a lot with my academic struggles here at Boise State, and the School of Public Service, as I'm a global study major. They are always here to support me, and they told me if you want to have an in-person meeting with us, if you want to share your story, if you have a struggle, we are here for you because you are our student. We want to see you succeed and celebrate it together.
Awesome.
Oh, for me, first I want to thank the entire CGE team, Center for Global Engagement, because they've been a great support. Like, I know they might not see it, but literally that place is part of my therapy. Like, when I go there, I'm just like, okay, forget about the problems, just live in the now. I want to thank my sponsors, the COFED, for giving me this opportunity to come to Boise State and study. I want to thank my host parents for their constant support, my friends, Bless, Shaq, David, Aria. I want to thank my boyfriend for being super supportive. I want to thank the health center of Boise State, the health facility, for like always welcome me. When I go in there, I'm just always like, okay, I had an episode, I need to talk. They always welcome me. They make time for me. I want to thank them too. I want to thank the Dean of Studies. I want to thank the people at the registrar's office helping me figure out my transfer stuff. I want to thank the entire Boise. I don't know, Stan. There's just so much people to thank, but like I'm really grateful for this journey. And when I graduate, I'm dedicating my the little thing that I get to all of them, because it's been so much. And lastly, I want to thank myself for not giving up, because
Nice.
Yeah.
and my family back home, my friends. Big shout out to you guys. You guys have been a great part of my success, and I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you three, for being here on my podcast today and sharing your authentic stories. That was awesome to hear. And I hope that the listeners are going to enjoy that too. So that was Ivan Elias on my podcast, Venturing Voices.
Go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
I just wanted to say that.